Hi, Tara. Hi, Johnny.
Hi.
So
Tara, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. And Johnny, I know Johnny's excited to have you on.
yeah, totally. Um, so I honestly don't. Tara and I don't know each other very well. We work together for a company that I used to work for. She still works there, and you know, sh I know she's got a great story. She's really cool. I connected with her. And when I say connected with her, everyone fucking says that, but I like authenticity, right? That's what we talk about, Jen, a lot. And I got that from her right away. And that's how I really connect with people. And that's the kind of people that I want to have on here, or we want to have on here, is people that are authentic. And then, what we hear, what we see is what we get. And we're gonna get it raw, whatever it may be, raw, happiness, sadness, whatever the fuck. And that's kind of why I asked Tara to be on here. She's in recovery. I'll let her kind of tell her story, and then we'll just see where it goes from there. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy, and I appreciate you coming on. And we finally got this to get going.
Yeah, I was honored that you guys asked me, and I think it's an opportunity to not only give back, but show people with recovery like where your life can go, for sure.
One of the things we like to do is while you tell your story is I'll interject and ask questions that maybe that are relevant at the time to see if there's any nuggets we can take away for people that are listening that maybe just need to hear it right then and in a certain combination of words that resonates with them at the time. So we might have some interjecting questions if you're okay with that.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Would you prefer to just go like into your story, or do you like prompted questions to start for somewhere to start?
I can start from, like what it was like, what happened, and, a little bit about what it's like now.
Cool.
I grew up in a middle class area, an upper middle class area in Huntington Beach, California. I come from a very dynamic family background. So I have a mother who is, was like teacher of the year for California. And then I have a father that I grew up with living in the same home that is a Vietnam veteran with extensive PTSD, the disease of addiction then and now. And so my life it's like living like in two different worlds, right? So I grew up and I was the A student. I was the athlete. I was all of those things. But I think from a very young age, I learned insecurity was something that was always there because in my house, like to everybody on the outside, it really appeared like everything was great. But when you went home at night and the doors locked and like you were inside the home, I had an alcoholic father who also is a drug addict. Like I said, with the extensive PTSD, a lot of verbal abuse, a lot of physical abuse, all of those things that people on the outside would never know. And so that was kind of like, to the neighbors and everybody, we were the great family that went on the summer vacations and the winter vacations. But in all actuality, there was a lot of trauma being, brewing in my home. And so I also have a younger brother who took the brunt of the majority of the trauma. Being the girl, I think my younger brother definitely got the majority of the physical abuse, but the verbal abuse between the dynamic of my mom, my brother, and myself all sort of created this like codependency between my sibling and my mom and I, which I am not going to lie, still is a part of our lives today. We really do. We have an extremely codependent relationship. It's something that I can recognize now, but as a child and and as a young person, you don't realize that you're really clinging to what's safe for you. And I think that we did that a whole lot. So like I said, I was a star student, the athlete, all of those things. And then shortly after graduating high school, I tried meth for the first time. And it was like this aha moment of, I have fucking arrived, all of a sudden I had this self-confidence. I felt like Superwoman, like all of these things, all of these feelings that I think I was searching for a long time started to come into play. Unfortunately for me, meth became my entire life. For the next 20 years from that first day, there is not a single day that I can tell you that I was sober if I was not behind bars or physically locked down someplace where I could not use. My addiction took me to many dark places. If you put all of the time together, I've spent 13 years of my adult life locked behind bars in a prison cell. And I think that prison ultimately became my next secure place, right? I knew that I had friends there. I knew the system. I was familiar with what the process looked like. And so it sort of became like my cultural norm. I was okay with going back to prison. I was okay with seeking lower companionship. I was all right with all of those things because in my mind, my ego was still at large and telling me like, you're better than these people, which I know is false, you
Can
know?
I pause you for a second? You're better than the people in prison, you mean?
No, just the better of the lower companionship that I was seeking, right? So I would choose people that didn't have a home or didn't have a hustle or things like that because I would feel like the savior. I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody, but in my mind was telling me like, you're still okay. And I think I just became with being okay as being like the queen of the losers because I felt good about myself, right? All of these people that didn't have a home to go to, I always had my mom's house. I was going to run right back. But if you didn't have a home, like I was like, you can come to my house. Here I am saving people when really in all actuality, like I should have been trying to save myself.
It's funny, Tara, you talk about that because I often say that totally different circumstances, but with like my brothers, right? You know,
Yeah.
my brothers were like 13 or 15 years older than me, and I always knew from a young age, as I've said a bunch of times, like that they were alcoholics. I didn't addict, whatever the fuck. I didn't know the difference, you know, and I still don't know the difference. I think it's all the same, right? But like I always had them like to like gauge myself, like, oh, I'm not sniffing coke, I'm drinking and smoking weed. Oh, now they're smoking crack, I'm just doing bumps of coke. Oh, they're shooting heroin, you know what I mean? Until obviously I surpassed all of that. But it's funny how we like look at these things that kind of make ourselves feel, like you said, not better than, but like better than, you
Yeah.
know?
And I think I phrased that the wrong way. I just think that I was out seeking people that I could save because I did not want to focus on myself. So
So
the
in order
thing,
to get a chance, it gives you the one opportunity. If you don't feel great about yourself, because if you came from a family where you thought there had been time, well, actually, let me ask you this question. Was there ever times during that 20 years when you thought to yourself, how am I this person?
every single day, I think.
Okay.
I think that that's a question that often went through my mind. I came from a place where I didn't need or want for anything at any given time, yet I was making these poor life choices that were forcing me into these situations that were just destroying me.
Right. So you have you're inexplicably for you in these positions and opted into these positions. When you don't really feel like it was warranted in your life, like maybe you saw other people around you and you're like, I can see how they got there, but I don't, maybe you felt guilt and shame around that. And with that, it's very hard to feel good about yourself. And one way that I think even in the program, they often inspire you to help other people because it raises the way you feel about yourself. So in some strange way, because of what you thought of yourself or where you were at, you could only feel good by helping others, and that necessitated them being at a different and lower, quote unquote, lower place than you. It was probably your only source of self-worth you had at the time.
Yeah, and I think the low sense of self-worth, it resonated like early on in my life. I can remember times when I'll use like junior high, right? There's a school project due. I couldn't just do the project like, you know, like mediocre. Like I always had to have the biggest, best project. It had to be the shiniest, that, you know, it had to have the sparkles. Like I had to go above and beyond. And then I would be like, do they like my project? Do they think it's good? You know, and I think that that's something that has went on for me a long time in my addiction. Like, do these people like me? Is this good enough? Are they going to accept me? And I know that I've always had like a number of friends, but I think it was always, had to prove stuff to people. And I'm not exactly sure why, but that was always a thing with me.
It seems like it because the first thing you said the first time you tried meth right after high school,
Yeah.
that you arrived. I feel confident. I don't have this questioning of things anymore. And that's part of meth. Like that's part of the effects of meth. And so it seems like that would be, I was talking to Johnny about this a few episodes ago, like how our drugs of choice, I call it the agent we use that alters us, how they become the one that we use. Cause I've tried meth and it wasn't for me, right? It didn't do what I needed. Johnny loved it, but he also needed to pair it with, or he liked crack. Maybe liked it all, but sorry, Johnny, go ahead.
No, I like shooting it. I couldn't smoke it. I didn't feel, I get a headache, but yeah, when I shot meth, it was like a whole nother ball game for sure. But
Yeah.
go ahead, go to your point. 'Cause I
Oh,
want to
my
ask you a
mind just,
question.
no, because my point was just, I wonder sometimes if the agents we end up finding that we love, that resonate with us, alter us chemically in a way that gives us the thing that fills us in for the thing that we're missing, that we're seeking. So it kind of alleviates that one thing we're trying to avoid and gives us the one thing we're trying to seek. And for you, meth manufactured, quite literally, the state of being that you were craving and that you wanted so badly to operate more freely in life, which was some sort of confidence.
And I think the same goes for a lot of alcoholics and addicts. Like the ultimate, like the thing that they're seeking is acceptance, right? Without having to do the internal work to feel self-accepted.
Yeah.
We're all searching for that outside, whether it be a drug or food or sex or relationships, whatever it is, we're all seeking that external validation to feel internally secure.
Yeah. Johnny, you had a question?
No, when you first, like, how did you get to meth?
So I mean, in high school, like I drank, I was a cheerleader, all those things, I drank, but, two of my friends, they were having a get together at a hotel. We went there. They were like, try it. Maybe I did it to be socially acceptable. I don't even remember that far back because I'm old AF, but, and I can see in my mind visually, like what that hotel room looked like, what that counter looked like. And, that's how it started. I have never in my life, and this doesn't go to say that if I wasn't part of today's like younger culture that I wouldn't do it, but I've never done heroin. I'm not a downers person. I don't like pills. I don't like weed. It makes me more paranoid than if I've been up for 12 days on meth.
Me too.
But there is a part of my story when I got clean off of the meth, I did switch to alcohol. And it's ironic because my whole entire life, like I've always been like, my dad's a drunk, like I'll never be like that. I'll never be like him. And ultimately, I put down one substance and picked up another, and I was him, minus the meth.
Right.
Can we circle around this for a bit about, so meth was 20 years, you did?
Mm-hmm.
So high school roughly to like late 30s, early 40?
Yep.
Okay. And then what was the impetus to get sober? What happened?
So I have a wife and a son, and I had gotten arrested again. And this time when I went to jail, they were like, the court system was done with me, right? They're like, she's she's a lifelong criminal, like, because, when you use any substances and you're committing crimes or, breaking the law, like there's no bottom to where you'll go or what you'll do.
Yeah, Johnny said that.
And so I got arrested, and I did have a close family friend who was owns a bail bonds company. So I would continuously get bailed out.
Nice.
I'd go do a little stretch and then I'd get bailed out. And even with getting released from prison, so I would always want to get released like on a weekday so that I could go check in with my parole officer that day, and then I could start using the next day. Like there was no actual common like conception of like this is dumb. People don't do this repetitively. Like, what the hell is your problem? I was just like, can I get paroled on a Monday so that I can be loaded Monday night and then I can start my run on Tuesday and then check in again next month? Like, it was a circle. It's just whacked. Like, who
And not only did you not think it was dumb, you thought you were being smart.
I did.
Right?
I had this whole plan. So the last time that I got arrested, I went into, the booking station and I was like, I picked up the phone. I called my friend. They were like, we'll get you out. And then the sheriff's department in Orange County notified me that I was no longer eligible for bail. That they were calling me a career criminal. They were revoking my bail and I was going to have to deal with my consequences. So I ended up going to court and they offered me 32 years in prison and this is when I believe, like my higher power intervened. They were starting a new court program for each court facility in the Orange County area where they were going to allow a parolee the opportunity to complete drug court. They had never done that before. It was if you were, had been arrested for a felony and been convicted and gone to prison, you weren't eligible for the drug court program. So my lawyer said, hey, they're looking for this one person to kick this off, they're looking for the person they think could possibly do it successfully and open the doors for other people. Are you interested in doing drug court? I mean, to me, that's a great option. You know what I mean? Like, when am I getting out? How many, where do I sign? But it's very interesting now looking back. They went into the audience in the courtroom. They pulled my mom and my wife out into the hallway and they told them what the plan was and what they were going to try to do. And my wife said, don't let her out. Absolutely, absolutely not. Like, she's only been in there 2 weeks. It's time for a snack and a nap. You're going to let her out. She's not going to show up to that program and she's going to be off and running. And then we're right back to the 32 years. Like, don't let her out. And I was like, how dare you tell them that? You know what I mean? Here's my golden opportunity. You guys are just shooting it down. And my mom's first question to the attorney is, what happens when she screws this up?
Sure.
Nobody had faith in me. My word was shit. Everything I said to people, I never followed through with. I might do it for a week and then we're right back to, running and gunning and taking advantage and being selfish and doing all those things that we do in addiction. And so needless to say, I did end up getting accepted to the drug court program. They did let me go home and I completed the program 18 months to the day with absolutely no violations, or I'm not saying I didn't drink or use in that time. I just got away with it. But I did complete the program successfully. And, that's one of the things I'm really proud of. I opened the doors for those people that did have, convictions and things like that. And they're now eligible in, Central Orange County to do the drug court program.
So
Okay.
Tara, how many people you think that actually works for? Like how many people do you think actually stay? Because I know where I'm from, like getting put on drug court, like it got to a point where like people like me were like, fuck the drug court, just give me like how much time I got to do. If it's anything below like 32 years, obviously
Yeah,
different.
right.
But if you're giving me 2 or 3 and I can get out with 85, whatever the case is, my boys were like, lock me up, because everyone knew that was just a fucking money grab, and
It's
I
a
was going
setup for
right back.
failure.
Yeah.
Most people, and I know because I had been part of the court system. I know because I'd been part of the prison system. Like, I would say 90% of the people can't hang. And I think
Yep.
it was my resilience and my spite that got me through it. 100%, because everybody said I couldn't do it. And I'm one of those people, tell me I can't do it and watch me,
Can
Yep.
you explain the difference between what's drug court?
So, and because I was on high control parole, what they call high control parole, I had to show up every single morning at not 1, but 2 courthouses. So I would go to Santa Ana, California at 7 a.m. I would sit through their groups and their testing and all of that until noon. Then they made me go from there to a different city in California called Westminster. I would check in with a PO there. I had a curfew of 7 p.m. at night. I was testing 4 times a week. I was breathalyzing every single morning that I showed up. I had to do community service. I had to do all of these things. You have to go to court every Friday. And if you screw up any of the rules and you're even 30 seconds late, they do what they call a sanction, and they put you in jail for like 24 hours. And for the majority of the people, and myself included, I don't know how I did it, to be honest.
Yeah,
And
it's
like
crazy.
I said, I think it was spite, but I can remember back then I had a sports car and I knew I had to be from one court to the next, and I was late. I was driving on sidewalks, you know what I mean? Like driving on the sidewalk up around people, not to be late. That's vivid. That's a vivid memory for me. But like I said, like had they have given me drug court at any other time, I would have failed and I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah.
Like Johnny said, you offer me 3 years at 85, I'm taking that. I never would have taken the drug court if they wouldn't have thrown like the 5 years for each prison prior that I had and then like added this new charge. I wouldn't have taken it. I would have taken 5 years over the drug court, hands down.
Because Jen, what they do is, and I don't want to speak. I never took drug court, but what they do sometimes they'll give you a color system, which is just
Yep.
like probation, where you'll have to call every morning if you're one of the colors gets called. You have like a certain amount of time to get down there. But what they do is, and you've known enough through these couple episodes where like they put you right back in the same fucking environment you were in. You're around the same people. You may have to go to some classes and stuff, but at the end of the day, if you're in a household with users, you're going right back to that house. Everything is the same. And if you have the disease of addiction like we do, that mental obsession is just alive and well. There's no separation given, and and they're expecting you, just like that's like expecting me to like be a good dad to my daughter just because like that's what I should be doing, but I'm in active addiction, right? Like it's the same thing with court. Like it's just as hard to like show up to court or to not get high for court as it is to be like a parent. You know what I mean? And that's why everyone always thinks it's a foregone conclusion. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then 6 months in, I'm gonna fuck up anyway. Well, just give me the time and I'll serve it right off the bat instead of getting maxed out at the end.
Right.
You know?
It's really nothing but a change in venue. You know, you're going from jail to home, but home is where
Yeah.
you came from, and home's how you landed in jail.
Right.
Right.
And I think it's a way for them to identify like rehabilitation with reintegration, but nobody's reintegrating you into anything, like Johnny said.
Right.
So their only support, addiction related support they give you is a few meetings weekly, or what do they offer you?
You go to like classes as if you're in treatment, but they require you to do NA or AA. Do you think I ever did one of those meetings? No, they're anonymous meetings. I'm signing my own card. The best part about the program is it's anonymous. You can't call down there and find out if I went. You know,
Yeah. No one's putting their last name when they sign your paper.
all you're doing is looking up like where the meetings are and where the address is. And then I've got like 6 different pens, all different colors, with my left hand, with my right hand, like, hey, with my friend, will you sign this? Like, you know, I knew the program back then. I've had my same sponsor for almost 20 years and she's seen me through all of this, but like, I didn't want to go to meetings. I didn't really want to be sober.
So
Right.
how did you, just out of curiosity, before I go into the next deeper question, how did you get away with the using and the alcohol with the test?
So I was a week, I remember the alcohol. It wasn't so much the using during drug court. I did stay sober off the drugs, but it was a weekend. We went to Santa Monica Pier. I got shit-faced drunk, you know, and then Monday, like they weren't testing for alcohol in our tests and our UAs. Those go back 72 hours. They were just breathalyzing. By Monday, I was good. And they knew, like, at that point, like, I don't think they even thought to dip my UA. I wasn't a drinker, like meth.
Right.
I was dedicated to meth, and that was, that was it.
So, okay,
So,
so that is that
Let
part
me go back,
okay.
Jen, before you go. I want to go back kind of because this is important. Like the first time you tried meth, like, yeah, it did all those things for you. Like I hear people in meetings all the time and they're like, I was drinking because, I was socially awkward and I drank to like fit in and all that, and I get all that. But like, I drank and started doing drugs to get fucked up. I
Oh, yeah.
loved the feeling. I wasn't trying to really escape anything. Now, when I got out of the Marine Corps and with all the other shit I had in my head, and of course, once I got into I was drinking and drugging for other reasons. But like when you first did meth, were you just one of those people who's like, I just want to get fucked up, or was it like a conscious decision of like maybe this will make me feel okay?
I think it was, I just want to get fucked up. And then I think in the time that followed, it was like, I just want to be okay.
Can I ask, so some of the things that started for me was not even fucked up. I just like everyone's doing something. And so you try it. And then you try different. For me, I tried different substances because it was kind of like, I'll try everything. It wasn't, I didn't worry about becoming an addict because I had never been one and I didn't know how it creeped up on you, and then all of a sudden you try the thing that really clicks for you, like cocaine, this one, or alcohol. And then it seems like then the need that you're trying to, for a lot of people, and I think, because that's what we talked about before, is that some people right away want to feel different, want to feel okay. Some people, it just creeps up on you. You try something and it just feels way better. And so then you kind of want to chase that feeling. And for others, it's just truly, I feel fine and I'd like to feel even better. So I just like, it sounds like Johnny, that's where you were at. Like you didn't particularly feel unwell before, right? You were like, I feel fine. I just really want to get even more fine. And so
Definitely.
all of them though eventually lead to this place where, because they are a crutch in a way, that we can't learn to walk without it. So it becomes a need that's fulfilled, no matter if that was the original cause of it, or it eventually becomes that. Sorry, go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah. So that's exactly it. And so every time I would relapse, right now it's debatable if I ever was really sober to relapse, but every time I would get out of treatment, jail, psych ward, whatever, and I would go right back to it. Then I wasn't trying to get fucked up. I was just trying to escape. I was trying to numb. I was trying to blot out, it says in the book, like that's what I was doing. So, but I was just saying like, yeah, but originally it was just like, I want to feel better. I want to feel more. And I think that's the addict in me. I want like, this is great. Well, how can I make this even better? Oh, do more, you know what I mean? Like, how can I make this drunk last? I can do some blow. How do we make this weekend stretch into Tuesday? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but then at the end of the day, once I started having to drink and drug, then it was like every time it was like had nothing to do with like trying to feel euphoria. It was like trying to not feel me or feel what I'm feeling anymore,
So then the one core thing between all three types of the inception of addiction, all three variations of that have one thing in common. And at the very least, even if you're feeling good and you just want to feel even better, the very core of that is you just want to feel a slightly different at the least, right? It's just there's
change the way I feel. Change the way I feel.
Yeah, and like I think Johnny was talking about I just want to feel better, or I just want to feel fucked up. So I'm the kind of addict that, like, if the vitamin gummies say take 2, right? I'm taking 5 because number one, they're going to work faster and it's going to work better. And I'm going to get healthier faster. Like, we know that's not true. Same thing with ibuprofen. It says, take 2, I'll take 4. It's going to make me feel better faster. Yeah. And it's not because I'm that sick or anything like that. It's just, I'm always looking for that one up.
Quick, and I'll get better, faster, everything quicker. So are you a generally immediate gratification person? Like, do you?
Absolutely. Like, I don't have the patience, you know what I mean? I want it now and I want it to happen right here in this second. And yeah, absolutely.
Is that something you work to actively manage?
For sure. I have to understand that, ultimately good things come in their own time.
Yeah.
And I use this example a lot. It's like a pot of stew, right? And somebody hands you an index card and it's got a recipe on it. It says 1 bag of potatoes, 1 bag of cut carrots, and 8 ounces of meat. Put it in the pot, pour in 8 ounces of water and stick the lid on it and let it simmer for 8 hours. I don't know any addict or alcoholic that would let that simmer for 8 hours without lifting the lid to add their own shit. Salt, pepper, seasonings, right? You've got the recipe and it tells you exactly how the stew's going to come out the best possible way. And we want to stick our hand like in God's handiwork and add the shit that we think is going to make it better and faster and do all that. If I could just let the lid sit there for 8 hours without lifting it up, you know, things would go a lot differently. And so I practice that on a daily basis, like the patience, the direction, you know, the next indicated step, but leaving that lid on, that's some hard stuff to do.
And that's big prayer, meditation, and I would say even faith, right? I think that's where
Right.
faith comes in. We talked about that in our last episode. I mean, really, it's just having faith that I don't know, like concoction is going to work as it has before. Right now, once I know it works once, my faith is a lot stronger that it'll work a second time. But that first time is where I want to just put my fucking 2 cents in, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's recovery looks a little bit different and the action steps that they take. But, it's all about what do you want? What do you want to feel on the inside? Because what you feel on the inside is going to project on the outside, right? You can tell people that aren't spiritually fit, or you can pick up on vibes when people are, boasting about how wonderful of a program that they work, but you take a look at the happiness around them and, and the aura that they put out and you can pick it up right away. That's an easy thing to pick up.
Yeah.
I say it all the time. I say it to new guys, they come back in, they got like, oh, I only have 90 days. I only have 6 months. And I'm like, don't say only. I'm like, you're on fire. I'm like, there are people with 20 years that I don't want a fucking thing they got because I can feel that what they got going on outside this room is not anything I want anything to do with. But that person with 6 months could be involved in the steps, could be doing everything that, practicing the principles and all that, just living it like all the right way. I want more what they have than the one with 20 years because of that exactly what you just described.
And like, how do you stay on fire for your recovery after it goes, it's been so long? And I think the key step to, staying on fire for like the recovery process that you've made is number one, staying in gratitude. And number two, giving back. How can I give to somebody? How can I give back to somebody on a daily basis? And that doesn't have to be, recovery related, or that doesn't have to be, like donating money. It just has to be something that you're giving to someone else that you have the capability today to give to help brighten their life, right? Whether it be putting the shopping cart back and doing the right thing to help the little guy that, picks up the carts in the parking lot, or whether it be helping an old lady, put her groceries back. It's different little service acts that just feed your soul when you're a healthy person.
Is that something you did before you were that type of person before addiction?
I think I've always been that type of person. But I think in my addiction, I definitely was serving, I was doing for those that didn't matter. I would do more for my friends in my connect than I ever would my family.
Oh, I
That's
see.
for darn sure. I mean, that's the straight truth.
So it was a little bit more transactional than it was giving.
Absolutely. In my addiction, 100%. I was so selfish. I use this example a lot. I would park in the handicap stall. I don't care. That's my place. I deserve to park there because it's the quickest way in and the quickest way out. And don't you know who I am? Like, who does that? What if a real handicapped person needed that parking spot to be able to safely get into wherever they were going? That doesn't matter. That's my spot.
Yeah.
Like, just self-centered, out of control.
So let me ask you a question because I want to make sure there's a couple of things I wanted to ask you. Was there, so I talk about the one moment, I think maybe you've heard it when I was sitting in this, apartment with no power, no nothing, but I had a bunch of dope and a bunch of meth on me. And usually I'm okay with that, and I had this, I was searching around and it was like my aha moment. Like you talked, like the first time that I think God or higher power really intervened in my life in that aspect. And it was while I was getting high. That was my first step experience. Like, did you have an experience like that? Or was there like a boom, changing moment where maybe in the moment you didn't realize it, but like looking back, that happened where you just from you taken off from there, or was it gradual?
Well, I mean, there was definitely a defining moment when, you know, after I graduated drug court, I did start drinking, and then I relapsed on meth again for a short period of time. But my wife took my son and moved out of our home. And they say we don't get sober for, you know, for other people, but I needed that situation to happen for me to really get honest with myself about what I was doing. And him not being able to talk to me on the phone, him not, you know, her just like setting that hard line boundary with me. I'd never had people really say no to me my whole life, right? I was always manipulating my way into getting him to say yes, even if it was, they said no at first. But this was like a no-win situation. And I needed that to happen. You know, I have an adult daughter that I don't have that great of a relationship with just due to my drinking and using, no matter how much time I've got clean. But my son has been with me for the majority of my sobriety. And I have a very close relationship with him. And him being gone, literally, I feel like my soul was sucked out of me. My wife as well, but like that feeling of I have just lost one of the most important people in my life. And like, this is all due to my own actions, right? They say in the book, you know, we took actions based on self, which later placed us in a position to be hurt. I was forever taking action that put me in a position to be hurt. And then I would like to blame other people, but taking ownership and accountability, that I did this.
Well, and you said that I'm assuming that's either an AA or AA thing, that you don't get sober for other people, right? Is that what you're
Well,
referencing?
you just hear that all around, right? You hear
Everywhere.
you can't get sober for other people. You have to do it for yourself. The truth in my story, for me, the honest truth is I never wanted to be sober. Life is so much easier when you don't have responsibilities and everybody doesn't expect much of you and they just expect you to screw up again. Like, it's easy to live that way.
Well,
Let me tell you, I say this, I agree with you 100%. I kill that notion whenever I can because I think it's fucking ridiculous. Why would I go through all this trouble for someone I hate, which is me? Okay, I hated me. When I had the realization that drugs and alcohol were no longer going to work for me, if I didn't have something to like, and it doesn't have to be a child, right? It doesn't have to. I'm saying, but I think there's something has to spark that like desire to maybe there's something else, or maybe I'll give this one more shot. I got sober for my daughter. She deserved to have a father. I didn't deserve to have a daughter. I didn't deserve to live. I would have taken that dope and fucking went to bed and been gone. And I think that would have been easier in my sick mind for everyone else. But in the back of my head, I was like, I got to do this for my fucking kid because she deserves to have a dad. And then the key, though, is that in order to make that happen, we had to work on ourselves. That's the way I look at it. You know?
that's interesting because I was thinking too, Johnny. So for you, it sounds like it was actually a very reasonable thing. My daughter needs a father. And in order to do that, I have to do X, Y, and Z, right? And I'm wondering that, Tara, if for you, in a way, it seems like that was the impetus that got you sober, is that they left, or that was, but you didn't necessarily, maybe, and just tell me if I'm wrong, it wasn't all that you got sober for them, because actually in some way, the pain of them leaving, the pain that you felt was maybe what was your bottom, so to speak, the spiritual, that you had lost this thing that was a part of you was gone.
Right. And so, and I think this is where the drug court experience kind of comes in, right? So that gave me the opportunity to be off of the meth for those 18 or so months.
Yeah.
And I did get a taste of normal life. And my wife and my son were living with me, and I knew what it was like. And so if I had never known the normality of that, I wouldn't have missed it, right? And my life had been so abnormal for so long that I was so out of touch with what normal, life is, that I wasn't missing anything because it had become my norm.
Right.
I had that experience for those 18 months of routine and accountability and, you know, kisses and hugs before bed and nighttime stories and all of those things that when I threw it away, it was like a pain that I've never, ever felt in my whole life. And I'm not a sappy person, but when I think about the way that it made me feel, and then I remember just being in my bedroom alone, just like, okay, here you are. You're right back at ground zero by yourself. You might as well be in prison. Like we know the difference between right and wrong. Whether we do it or not is a completely different story. So
Right.
like, here I am at a crossroads. Like, are you going to do the right thing? Or are you just going to be like, look what I can do? You know, you want to do this to me, like watch me retaliate. And
So you're in your bedroom, and so then you're feeling the depths of despair.
oh, completely. I
Yeah.
remember just crying to myself, and then I bottle of vodka, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
still
So-
using and not knowing how to stop it.
So was there like this epiphany, or were you just one day like, I'm just not doing it today? What happened?
There was an epiphany. So, about 2 weeks after they had moved out, my mom had planned a trip for us to Ireland, where I'd been sober when she planned it, right? And like I wasn't going to screw this up. It was St. Patrick's Day week, and we were going to go to Ireland, right? But now I'm strung out on meth, and I'm not leaving my dope at home.
Mhm.
So I, like any normal good addict, decided to stick a half ounce of speed up in me and travel across borders and things with my mom in tow, you know, straight laced person, and get to Ireland, right? Because I wasn't going to ruin her vacation. I mean, we're going to end up on locked up abroad if I get busted, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking I'm not going to ruin this lady's vacation while I'm in the, you know, hotel room bathroom in Ireland smoking dope. And then we got home, and the relationship was still the same with my wife and my son, and my mom, you know, obviously at this point she knows now I've relapsed, and like the gig's up. Like, give it up, Tara. Like everybody knows you're loaded. Everybody knows it's a problem again. And my mom was going out the front door, and she had her golf clubs, and I'll never forget. And I had an 8-ball of speed in my pocket, and I just sat down on her stairs, and I put the drugs next to me, and I said, "Look, Mom, like, I'm loaded. I don't know how to stop. This is a problem. Like, I'm not moving off of these stairs until I go somewhere. And like, I'm willingly going, and like, until you put me somewhere and I get back on the right track."
Mhm.
And actually, one of my drug court therapists, I reached out to her. She got me a scholarship at this program in Costa Mesa, California. I went through that program for the meth. And I started working there when I had 30 days sober, and that's how I began my journey to working in treatment.
Good for you.
Fuck yeah.
It sounds
I
like
actually drank during that little, you know, right when I started working in treatment. I'll be honest, like I was drinking and working graveyard in treatment, but I was able to put down the alcohol. I reached out to my sponsor. I put down the alcohol, and that I did quit cold turkey. Yeah.
A lot of people are doing that. Yeah.
oh, really? Is that true?
I mean, you know,
Okay, I'll let it go.
who knows?
I won't ask anymore.
I mean,
You know, it sounds like, Tara, and I look for these threads and stories because it's a disservice that people are listening when we tend to focus on our difference of our stories. I've said this before, like for instance,
Right.
I would say I wasn't that bad because I would look at the Hollywood rendition of what an addict or an alcoholic looked like.
Yeah.
And that was so sometimes grotesque that I was like, well, I'm not that, you know?
Yeah.
And so what happens is that people listen to this sometimes, and then I feel like some of the core messaging that's there might get lost. So I've looked for these common threads, and one of the things that it seems like I'm hearing that was helpful to you in each of your pivotal moments through this is that you got called on your shit at various times.
Yeah.
It was the time in which starting with, nope, you're not getting bailed out.
Yeah.
It's 32 years or this. It
Mhm.
was your wife and your son, your child leaving, a son, right? It was your son? Son leaving. It was your mom being like, hey, Tara, we all know, just give it up. It's that with this, and it sounds like what Johnny's had too, that it seems like, which is common, is that, or at least common with people that have recovered, is that you had some time that you were not high and drunk, that you could at least reference of like, oh, I can do this and I know what that looks like, you know, during the drug court. Like I can feel that. And between that being called on it and having some, maybe that gave you some glimmer of hope or what that could feel like, seems like it kind of helped you get to where you are now.
And I would agree. And I think that people ask me all the time, you know, like, you don't look like this is what you've done. And, you know, you don't look like this, or you don't look like, you know, what you do for a living, and all of these things. And, you know, would I change anything? Absolutely freaking not. I believe every single relapse that I had, every single obstacle that I had to overcome, every little piece of my story makes me who I am today. And today I'm proud of me. And I'm okay with me. Like, I don't need to deposit drugs or alcohol. There's some days when I'm like, hey, this isn't cool, but you know what I mean? There's, you know, a bad day today is nowhere near what I know to be a truly bad day.
Yeah.
What are you doing now?
I'm the assistant clinical director for the entire West Coast for the company that I work for. You know, it's not so much hands-on with clients, but I do have that experience and I get to do that as well. But it's managing people and being like, you know, like motivating. And that's what I love to do. I love to let, you know, I like to be the cheerleader. No, you know, you know, just helping people find solutions. Like my life is completely solution oriented today. I think that negativity and lack of solution really pulls down anybody. And so I try to help people find solutions and fix problems and do all that type of stuff.
Very cool. Do you feel satisfied in what you're doing?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think
What
that
do you think? What do you think in this time is the biggest barrier for people to get sober or clean or whatever? What do you see right now is like the biggest barrier? That's a broad question, but I don't know.
So I'll be honest with you. So my younger brother that I mentioned earlier, right? He's an opiate addict. And I truly believe that the lack of resources for medically assisted detox, you know, not like MAT program, right? So if somebody wants to go for MAT, like, and that works for them, go for it. But the physical aspect and the need for medical detoxes with alcohol and the opiates, I think we lack there's a lot of lack of resources, right? So if you don't have an private insurance policy, or if you're in a, you know, you're on, you know, state insurance, whatever it may be, I think the world can use a whole lot more assistance with helping fight the opiate addiction and the opiate problem, right? I think a lot of, you know, I do work in, you know, private paid treatment and commercial treatment, but there's hundreds of thousands, millions of people that want help, but just don't have the resources to get it.
yeah. It's not, well, because one common thing I've heard from, I think everybody really on this show so far is that everybody got a scholarship at some point to somewhere to help them.
Yeah.
Well, what happens to people that don't?
I mean, and that's what I'm saying. I
Right.
think, you know, and I know there's a lot of veteran assisted programs out there right now, but I think, you know, our veterans, the homeless, you know, people that aren't on commercial insurance, like, that's a majority of the population that are struggling not only with substance abuse, but as well as mental health, right? You've got, you know, you've got extreme trauma there, and there's just no resources that people offer to get assistance. And I know the world's not fair, but like, I wish it was a perfect world where everybody could get the treatment that they need, whether it be mental health, you know, substance abuse, whatever it is. I think we just lack as a nation serving the people that we could really help.
So let's go even one further, like the people that do come to treatment, right? The people who do have the opportunity. Like, we know the numbers are still like 90+% are gonna go back out, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're not gonna get it on their first try. What do you think that's like, what did we miss, or what are they missing? Is it a willingness? Is it a Is it the type of drugs that are out? I mean, these are all things that I think are parts
Yeah.
of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Is it the support systems at home?
I think a lot of it is the support systems. I think a lot of it is the drugs that are out there now. Fentanyl, perfect example, right? It's a physically addictive drug, and it's also so readily available everywhere, and it's in everything. And I think the lack, I think with the fentanyl, with the fentanyl thing going on, I think people at home are scared to set hard boundaries, right? They're afraid because he's going to go out there and do it either way, you know, so I might as well, you know, be the codependent partner in all of this, because either way, like, I don't want him to die. Well, truth be told, that person's going to die, whether it's in your home or on the street or in
Correct.
treatment, because, you
Right.
know, I mean,
As I say, the majority of my friends that are gone because of fentanyl, it was all in their homes with the support of their loved ones.
right.
Yeah.
I've told this on here and told Jen this. I'm tired of people come like this narrative that people are being. Now, I'm not saying fentanyl is good and that we do need to stop it
Right.
coming across the border. That for sure. This is not what I'm saying. But this idea that our people are being poisoned by fentanyl, like they're not like it's getting slipped into their dope. And I was telling Jen when I got, so it's been 5 years now.
Yeah.
I was choosing fentanyl. And every kid that comes in or person that comes in now, they're what are you addicted to? Fentanyl. They're not being tricked anymore. They're
No.
just buying the cheapest what they can get, you
Right.
know? And so the narrative is wrong. It's like, oh, no, these people are knowingly dying. Like I told Jen, I would take a shot of fentanyl knowing that there was a better chance I was going to fucking overdose than because I had to get high. And that's what's going on here. Like people are missing the point here. Like they're ready. We are ready to die to not have to feel dope sick or to feel whatever it is we're trying not to feel, you know?
Yeah, I think people are well aware that fentanyl is everywhere. And I do agree with you. They're choosing to do the fentanyl. Like this is not, it's past the point of, like you said, it got slipped in my drink or they laced my joint with it or whatever it is. Like people are choosing to do fentanyl as their number one drug.
Mm. I have a question for you. A couple things because of the lack of access, let's say to quality programs.
Mhm.
When you were in yours that you, for the most part, that sobered you up, what was there anything in there that really clicked for you? That like something that happened? I realize there's a sequence of steps, but maybe there was one that for you was kind of an aha moment that you would share with other people who maybe haven't gone into a program or wonder what it's like, or maybe you don't have access to it.
Well, so what I didn't mention is I've been in 50,000 programs. That scholarship program was just my last resort. But nothing really for me personally like clicked that time. But what I can say from my experience in my profession is therapy. If you're somebody that's interested in therapy and it works for you, I would continue doing that. It's not something you you resolve in 30 days or 60 days and the therapist doesn't mean you're whacked in the head or, you're crazy and need cuckoo pills or whatever the case may be. It just means you have somebody to talk to.
Right.
And I think for a lot of people, that's important.
Okay.
Or you can still be crazy like me and you still stay
too.
sober.
Or you can say like me, you can say you're going to go to therapy and then you never do it,
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is I had a therapist tell me once, and he couldn't have been more accurate. He's like, this is when I was younger. He's like, Tara, look, like some people come here for 5 years and they talk about everything. Some people come here for 5 months and they work out their problems. Some people come here for 5 minutes, or people like you, they walk in the door and they already know they're here to bullshit me and they walk right out and they could stay for 5 years. And I was like, I'm not going to waste your time. Like, thank God you called me on it. There's another one you called me on it. I was like, I'm not going to fucking waste your time. Like, I'm not going to listen to you. You can give me all the suggestions you want. I'm never going to take any of them.
Yeah.
But I think that therapy does work for a lot of people. I mean, I do believe that. I might not be one of them because I refuse but to listen, but I think that therapy does work for a lot of people.
I go to therapy. I just came back from therapy. I go to the VA. For me, it's almost like going to meetings. Like know that I'm going to get it. You know, he doesn't solve my fucking problems, but it's just kind of like it's more of like a discipline for me. Just like going to meeting, like at my home group, like there's probably 4 out of 100 people that I actually can like get anything out of, but it's the discipline of like going and just
Going.
like being open-minded to that. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
I'd love to see more therapy have some sort of coaching aspect to it, because it's with therapy, it's a lot of listening, you know, you're not supposed to give anything back to them, you know, it's not a lot of, you know, you're supposed to just sort of lead them to their own discovery with questions and letting them talk. And sometimes people need to get stuff out, and sometimes people need to stop getting it out. They need to stop rehearsing the story over the narrative over and over again. So sometimes it'd be nice, I think, because like for me, I love action oriented things. Like, here's a tool you can do in this moment, here at this time, you know, and sort of a cognitive behavioral thing. But even like I have ADHD, and so sometimes I think that a lot of my drinking, some of my drinking was that sort of overwhelm I would get into, and I didn't know, and I felt like a failure a lot, and so I would just kind of drown that a bit. And having just some tools of what to do within that moment, like Johnny said, you know, and for me it was a solution, little tools that I could do that at least took away that kind of insanity that would be going on in my head sometimes. So I'd love to see some action oriented therapy out there, especially for people that have, like, we can clearly identify what might be the source of some of their addictions. You know, like, okay, you feel these ways. So what are some other tools that can supplement you feeling this way other than this agent? Do you guys see that? Is there that type of therapy in rehab?
Oh, I think there are components to it that, you know, include that for sure. But I think in early recovery, and when you're in treatment, I think your willingness to accept suggestions that you think may screw up your path even more,
Yeah.
are people are resistant to. And that's why I say, if you're going to do therapy, do it for a long time, because over the course of time, they will become open to like maybe making a change in boundaries, or you know, separating a relationship, or doing those types of things they know is detrimental to them. But it's just like my vape. Like, I gave up drugs and alcohol. Like, I'm not giving up my vape. Like, you know, so, and I'm at that point right now. And so people in early recovery, like, we've already taken away the drugs and the alcohol. Now they're left with this ball of emotion. And we just got to do it little by little without asking them to give everything up and make all of these, you know, dramatic changes all at once.
Yeah, I can see that. I see that maybe it's a later, I'm more speaking like outpatient, been doing therapy for a while. And sometimes I'm just like, okay, now I need some feedback. Like my story, I need so much just perspective, you know, and I think that's probably what I would just get irritated. Most of my therapist was not very probably nice to them, but I'm just like, that's terrible advice. Like, you know, it's just, I'm not going to use that. It's not helpful. But then you get this one, you're like, that makes a lot of sense. That's perfect. That's exactly what I needed to hear.
I had one gentleman that I absolutely loved, and I remember him to this day, and he saw both my brother and I respect that man more than anything, because he called me on my shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Somebody calls me on my shit, and that's when I take a look.
So, and one thing, because of the calling in the shit part, I was going to ask you on this, because I think Johnny has to go, right, John?
Yeah.
Okay. People calling your shit, family that's having to also manage family members with addictions. It seems like, because you have a combination, you had some people that finally gave up and left. It sounds like your mom stuck around but called you on your shit a bit. So you had the tough love, you had the love, you had the give up love. Is there any advice, any tidbits that you think would help family that are just struggling on what do I do? I know I'm just feeling so desperate right now.
As hard as it is, and as much as, I mean, for parents or for spouses or for children, as hard as it is, and, you know, in the moment to do it, it's setting that hard line. When you're ready, you call me, you know. Until then, like, you know, stop being codependent, stop paying the phone bills, stop keeping the insurance policy active, stop doing those types of things, because until, and this is just for me personally, until I had nothing, I didn't value anything, including myself or my sobriety. Nothing.
And I was going to use and abuse everything that you gave me, or I could get out of you.
What's mine is mine. What's yours is mine and yours. And if you're not going to give it to me, I'm going to talk you into giving it to me, because I'm going to make you feel sorry for me, or I'm going to threaten that I'm going to go do it anyway, you know?
Yeah.
the greatest answer, I believe, is to say, I love you too much to be a part of this anymore. You know, I love you too much to do. That's what I tell parents a lot is like, you know, because you don't want to be a part of killing them. And that's basically what we're doing. You know, that's what you're doing. So,
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you guys want to add?
I wanted to thank you
I
guys
mean,
for having me.
Thank you so much, Tara, and for your bluntness with everything. It really, it's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Love to have
awesome.
you- Love to have you back on sometime because it's like we scratched the surface there, and with your willingness to speak,
Yeah.
so with your precision and way you answer, I think that we could offer some more. You could offer some more insight with some questions if you'd be willing to come back on another later date.
Right. And if you guys are interested, I'd also like, I had my niece share on one of my Zoom meetings one time about what it's like to be a child of two addicted parents who are both now not present. My brother is one of her addicted parents. She is now a mother herself, and it's very interesting. So if you guys are interested, I'm happy to bring on, you know.
What do you think, Johnny? When the, yeah,
Oh, of course. Yeah. Just, yeah, we definitely. Well, for sure. I would love that. I can't say when because we have a lot going on, but,
yeah,
like my mind's like, oh, I'm getting anxiety just thinking about when to fit her in. But yeah, we'll do it. And then maybe I'll be out in California at some point. Maybe we can. I want to start doing these in person. I fucking hate this, you know, this. And so I would love to. I know I'll be out in California at some point this year, so maybe we can get you back on in person.
Yeah, and I'd love to come back on myself too.
yeah.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tara, connect with me so we don't overwhelm Johnny.
So we don't have to bite.
Just connect with me
Yeah.
and I'll make sure we get you back on and your niece too.
Absolutely. All right, guys.
All right,
Hey,
awesome.
tell Ryan and Jesse I said hello.
I will.
All
Okay.
right.
Jesse's
Bye,
my
everybody.
boss. Jesse's my boss, so I'm good with it.
Yeah. I'm sure he's a cool boss. Tell him I said what's up.
I will. Bye.
All
Ed.
right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.